Hey, gang, thank you all for coming. The markets are very weak. We're all losing money, but I'm going to put some perspective on exactly why. And we're going to start with a lot of ugly news. The most ugly news probably I've shared since the tariff tantrums. And this one's called correction time. But I've got to get through all the bad and the ugly first, and then we get to the good news. So stay tight for that. And I want to thank the audience as well for being so chipper, because you're all legends. You've been through this before. We've been through April 2025. We've been through the bear market. This is literally, in relative terms, absolutely nothing. So thank you to the mods in the chat and everybody out there. Appreciate you all for coming. All right, correction time. Let's get into it. And of course, not financial advice, just a guy on the internet. And shout out to everybody on Patreon. I don't miss many of your videos, and subscribe to your Patreon. It's been great investment in time and money. Awesome. Thank you so much. By the way, that is from EduTube. I like that. Edu, like education. Beautiful. Ugly news. I warned you all. There's a lot of ugly news today. First of all, it's FUD time. Now, sometimes when markets are weak and they go down, that's when the FUD layers on and everybody embraces the panic. Everything from mainstream media, crypto Twitter, etc. This is one of the pieces that hit, and it's all over the place. This is just one example I picked from Leo. ETH.ETH, Leo ETH, let's call him Leo ETH. Just in, Bitcoin is now at risk of a 51% attack as two mining pools control over 51% of the hash power. Now, if you go back in time, go back to say 2020, 2021, the Chinese pools controlled it all. Because this is not new at all. But I want to spend some time dispelling this 51% attack stuff, is because everybody's freaking out. All right. First of all, if you look at these two, there's one is Antpool, the other one's Foundry. There's China versus America. They're not going to cooperate. They're not going to collude. They don't have shared infrastructure. They're not going to coordinate an attack. And even if they tried, a double spend would be visible on the public blockchain, which would trigger immediate response from the watchdogs and all the nodes around the world as well. And historical analysis show theoretical collusion attacks do not benefit anybody. It's mutual self-destruction. So there's no incentive to even do it in the first place. And also, again, Bitcoin's network includes tens of thousands of nodes run by users, exchanges, wallets, etc., that validate blocks in a transaction, enforcing the consensus rules. Okay, and miners propose blocks, but nodes decide whether or not to accept those blocks. But it's kind of funny as well, because if you look at the people that want the downfall of Bitcoin, they tend to be ETH people, for example. Nothing against ETH people at all, but they love dancing on graves whenever they can. And this same guy that's spreading the kind of 51% attack stuff believes Ethereum is going to $80,000. By the way, if you do the math, if Ethereum does go to $80,000, it has a $10 trillion market cap. That's 2.5 times NVIDIA. Okay. And that's many multiples of the entire GDP of Europe, etc. So it's just always check the source. Always check the source. But there's still more ugly news. Monero, also, I reported a few days ago, also fear a 51% attack after Cubic says it controls 51% of the hash rate. Now, with Monero, it's a different kettle of fish, because that's one group, not competing groups. That's the difference. Anyhow, not to worry. I think Monero will recover from that too. A little bit of on-chain stuff too. Back to the future, back to futures, back to zero from Axel. I hope he doesn't mind my little title. But you can see here the Bitcoin futures index dropped to the zero mark after a series of positive values. And typically when we see blue, Bitcoin goes up. When the futures crash to zero or below, Bitcoin goes down. And this reflects a slowdown in momentum in the futures market, which also takes into account the combined influence of open interest, funding rates, all that type of stuff. Now, we were at an all-time high a few days ago. And of course, again, crashing down. But that's exactly what happens. Everything mean reverts. We're also in August. Everybody's at the beach. I'm the only guy working. I'm kidding. A lot of people are working, of course, as well. But it's always a quiet time. It's rife with manipulation. And don't expect a lot of fireworks. As we said, August is always slow flat to negative. First 2 weeks of September can be violently bad, but then after that, recovery. We'll get to some of that in a minute too. And speaking of, this is an interesting situation. The question is, did people know there would be a mini correction? Again, we've gone from nearly 125K back down to 112 and change. And as I look at Bitcoin right now, there is a little slight recovery. It's up over $1,000 on the bottom, which is good. So that means somebody's out there is buying dips. But what did Cathie know? Cathie Woods unloads $50 million worth of BitMiner. Okay, 832 shares sold. She got a quick in and a quick out. Mando yesterday talked about unloading his ETH as well. 2 for 1. And not only that, the ETFs had the second biggest unload day for the ETH ETF ever in history, $200 million outflow. And that was kind of big. So all in all, a lot of this is triggered by when things go up really fast, they come down often really fast. Again, everything mean reverts, get used to it. It's the way of the world. Nothing goes straight up. And unlocks, ton of big name unlocks this week, actually. I normally just skip through it, but there's a few names you have to see here. Jupiter have a 1.76% unlock. Optimism, 1.9% unlock. SWI, 1.25% unlock. DYDX, 0.6%. Athena always unlocks every single week. Render, tiny, 0.16. Wouldn't worry about that. Axie, always unlocking 2.25%. And Aptos, 2.2%. All the layer 2s in Ethereum unlock every single week. So there's no surprise there. But it just shows you some of the tokenomics. And some of these names are not good. Now, the other piece of ugly news as well, what has the market so rattled, because it's not just crypto down today. It's everything. Everybody's worried about, will this guy screw the pooch? His name is Jerome Powell. And there are Jackson Hole nerves. He's talking on Friday, and people are worried what he's going to say. Well, I hope he has access to data, and I hope he's not relying on his 420 PhDs, because I tell you, yes, AI stocks are doing well, and companies that embrace AI are doing well, and they're doing record profits. But those that are not doing well at all. Here, first of all, bankruptcies surge past 2020 C19 levels. Just today from Newswire. Okay, the number of bankruptcies hitting are worse than during C19, which was a catastrophe. So we are actually worse than catastrophic levels. What happens last time we were at catastrophic levels? Yeah, they print a lot of money and cut rates down to 0. Okay, first part. I warned you, a lot of ugly news today, but you need to know this. Okay, second, sadly, I've been ringing the bell about BLS BS for the longest time, that the job market is not strong. And yes, AI is preventing new hiring from happening and causing a lot of big companies, especially big tech companies, to riff. I see it here, all around me. But this is the share of unemployed workers who've been without a job for 27 weeks or longer. That's over half a year. It now makes up over 25% of all unemployed workers. And that's the highest also since C19. You get the pattern here? C19, beyond bankruptcies, beyond C19 levels. And this is back at C19 levels. Very, very ugly. But to make matters worse too, auto subprime record high delinquency. Not only are secondhand cars expensive, but the people that buy them often have to give credit scores and they're bad, and that impacts their insurance in some states. Also, the rate on their loans is very high, about 20%. And now, record high delinquencies for auto loans, subprime. Thanks, JP. I hope you see some of this data, by the way, JP. Just friendly nudge here. And he says things like his delusion. I posted this morning. Labor market is strong. Labor market is solid. Labor market is solid. Historically low unemployment. Labor market looks good. Looks really good. Looks real solid. If you take the totality of the labor market data, you've got a solid labor market. Labor market is actually quite solid. What's he smoking? Can we get some of it? Only kidding. I never smoked. Never will smoke. But it's a figure of speech, if you know what I mean. Don't smoke out there, everybody. Smoking bad. But remember, he has to cut. He's under immense pressure to cut. There is dissent within the Fed committee. All the chairs are saying, we got to cut. Things are bad. And remember, everybody as well, a little bit of Bitcoin perspective. What happens when the rates cut? The red line is the Fed funds rate on my chart here. The blue with the up and down trend is Bitcoin price. Now, Last time the Fed raised rates, okay? Yeah, Bitcoin went down for quite some time. Then last time they cut rates, we had the 2021 bull run and the double top. Then the rates went up. Then the Bitcoin price went down. Literally, the point at which the red line goes off zero, the yellow begins, the trend is down, and it goes all the way up, and the Bitcoin price goes all the way down till they stop. Aha, what happens next? They cut, and the Bitcoin price will go up more. If history repeats, who knows what could happen tomorrow. Now, that was the ugly news. Let's get into the bad news. First of all, this is an interesting case. And you hear me talk about OpenAI and Palantir quite a lot these days. But Citron Research, they bought a whole bunch of puts at Palantir at $40. They expect to go from 40. Last time I checked, it was about 172. And they say their whole thesis is if OpenAI is valued at $500 billion, that puts Palantir worth about $40. And that's generous. And Citron have a history of some success. They've been around since, I think, 2020, 2021. No, 2001. And normally their research is good and they can find good shorts. But sometimes they short things without understanding the whole situation. They've shorted Tesla in the past and they've done quite badly. They've shorted MicroStrategy in the past, have done quite badly as well. But then there are times like this week and today where they probably would have done well, but overall over the time frame, not good. But either way, they believe Palantir is very overvalued, not the only people as well. That's impacting AI stocks and Nvidia, etc. And Palantir, of course, as well. Also, Home Depot. Home Depot is a store in the United States that sells things to people to do home maintenance and home stuff and home building and all that. And when they miss earnings, that typically sparks concerns around consumer spending, around real estate, and it adds downward pressure. And the other thing is there's more reports coming from places like Walmart and Target and Lowe's this week. Walmart is the place I mentioned yesterday on DCA. There's two ways to read that. If Walmart beats earnings, it means it's a recession because people don't have any money to shop anywhere else, so they go to the cheapest store. Or if they miss, it's really bad. So either way, it's bad. So here's the way to construe that. Now we can get into the good news. Thank goodness. Fear and greed is still at 56, so we're not absolutely terrifying out there. And when you look at the actual market, okay, Bitcoin price right now is beating most everything else with the exception of Tron and Chainlink. Chainlink had a very good week since I reported last. Cardano and Litecoin are dark red versus, and the meme coins got hammered too. If we look at it melting fiat, you can see here, since last week, okay, this is bizarre. This is just, so I do this video at the same time every Tuesday. So you can look at this chart week to week, month to month, whatever, and it's the exact point in time. Bitcoin is only down 2.48% since I reported last week. But if you took the temperature of the room and people's sentiment, they're losing it. People are really, really anxious, really afraid. But when you zoom out, we're pretty much where we were last week. So that's just weird. And yes, the treasuries and the proxies have gotten completely brutalized. But that's the way it works. You know, if Bitcoin goes up 1x, sometimes they go up 2 or 3x. If Bitcoin goes down 1x, they go down 2 or 3x. It's just how it works. It's like amplified returns both ways. So let's look at money flow. Money flow actually was very strong last week, but they pulled in $3.75 billion, the fourth largest on record, driving AUM to $250 billion. $250 billion in crypto funds. Bonkers. Huge growth. I do not expect that to repeat. I think next Tuesday, when I come back and report these numbers from the previous week, which is this week we're in, they'll probably be negative. Brace yourselves for that. And we can see here flows by asset. Ethereum last week still had a monster week. In fact, it did 5x what Bitcoin did. Solana nearly did 200 million, so that's not bad either. XRP 125 million, sweet 11 million, and the rest are just crumbs. But overall, it was a pretty impressive week. And we do hope by the next month or so, there should be 8 new Solana ETFs. and expect these numbers to go pretty bonkers into the best season for Solana, which typically kicks in after the middle of September up to the end of the year. Now, speaking of alts, when is alt season? We're right on the brink. 49. We bled into Bitcoin alt season for a second there and then came right back down. So things are kind of teetering. And when we look at the returns of assets, you can see here, this is over the last 30 days, not 90 days. So the alt season indicator is based on 90 days return. What you can see here is a couple of names that I've never even heard of. On the far left, MNT did very well. Athena, with terrible tokenomics, doing very well. Chainlink, 23% for the last 30 days. Big move for Chainlink. And on the right-hand side, you see all the dead coins and the bad tokenomics coins and the dead L1s and the meme coins. Good to see the meme coins down there at last two as well. Good to see. JLP up 1.9%. And that's also a sign that when things are weak in the markets and people are unsure, they go into JLP, which is the Jupiter funding thing that pays pretty good return. Now, more stuff too. We did have an IPO last week called Bullish, which are trying to build a new way of doing all things TradFi, DeFi, crypto, bringing Wall Street into crypto. And they made $1.15 billion in their IPO proceeds. And they pushed into stablecoins, which were minted on Solana. That's the first time ever in history at this scale that IPO proceeds were turned into stablecoins. And they want to use this as part of their infrastructure as well going forward. They want to be the player to bring TradFi over to crypto and give them all the services they need as well. Speaking of stablecoins, the market cap keeps going up. Stablecoin market cap went up 0.62% today in one day. Remember, it's nearly $300 billion. For the kids at home, what's 0.62% times $300 billion? That's how much was created today in stablecoins, and they are the fuel for this crypto space, which is awesome. The other thing that's happening in the crypto space is tokenization of the world is happening very fast, and that's also growing very fast. Despite the market being down, things are doing very well out there. This is I had totally actually retweeted this. This is from Infra, from Radium. They looked at just their tokenized asset volume on Radium. They did $119 million. And Robinhood on Arbitrum did $4 million. So this is kind of like Radium on Solana versus Arbitrum on ETH. Sol versus ETH, Ray versus Arb. Who is winning? 119 versus 4 million. The answer is pretty clear. A lot of people thought, oh, Robinhood are going to crush traditional crypto. No, not at all. Not at all. And we're still early. Interesting to see how this plays out as well over time. And speaking of 1inch, which I haven't spoken about in quite some time, but 1inch now is working closely with 13 different chains without bridges using Solana Swap. It'd be MEV protected at the best rates. They believe it'll almost the cheapest rates to do swaps, but I don't think that's possible because there's so many other competitions like Phantom and Jupiter also already have gasless swaps right now. But the good news is the doors to Solana just got even wider as well. 1inch has been lagging behind because of all the other players that are out there now, but this could help them get back up there as well over time. Let's switch gears to stocks, which also includes crypto adjacent stocks. Fear and Greed is 61, which is higher than the crypto Fear and Greed. And again, over the last week, it hasn't been that bad, despite the pain we feel today. Yeah, AI took a hit. Tesla down 4%, Nvidia down 4%, Microsoft down 3%, Meta down 3%, Broadcom down 4%, Amazon up 2.4%, Apple up 2.4%, Google flat. So all in all, mixed, mostly down, mostly red. Oracle down 7.5%. Wow. That was a big hit. That thing nearly doubled or tripled a few weeks ago now. It's, again, mean reverting like everything else. Now, looking at an interesting flippening that has happened that was not on my bingo card. This is Bitmine Immersion. Shout out to Tom Lee, who's pumping this thing like there's no tomorrow. Bitmine Immersion is now the #1 ETH treasury company, but also the second largest crypto treasury company on the planet. They just flipped Marathon, that was #2. Marathon have 50,000 Bitcoin in their treasury, just over that. Bitminer now have more in ETH equivalent. And it's really weird when you look at the logo, it's a B, like a Bitcoin B. When it's an ETH treasury company, they need to think about maybe changing their logo because it can be confusing to some people. Other news too, US is making record profits. Stocks in US are making record profits. And many believe they are making record high profit margins because they are leveraging AI, artificial intelligence. Meanwhile, European profits have been pretty much flat since approximately 2005. So again, big changes there. I'm not sure how long this will continue. I'm hoping our European friends will start embracing AI more, and the government will be more open to it and not regulate it to death as well. And Tesla launches their new, I call it a Yinivan, Y for Model Y, because that's the kind of framework, but it's huge inside. I don't know how they extended the wheelbase or something by 7 or 8 inches, but inside it's a massive cabin, and it can comfortably sit 6. Now, if it is turned into a robotaxi, it'll easily be able to seat 4 because of the way the seats at the front are kind of reserved for other people. I don't know if that's going to change, and the Cybercab will be out at the beginning of next year, maybe even late this year too. Watch out for FSD 14. That's coming. And OpenAI Insiders, which is the ChatGPT platform, the staffers are selling $6 billion of stock to SoftBank and other investors. SoftBank, again, they've got a very colored past. They've lost a ton of money on many investments like WeWork and other things. And now they're picking up the bag from the employees of OpenAI. If the employees are dumping $6 billion worth of stock, of course, everybody needs lifestyle chips. So that's kind of a big chunk. But then again, it is worth $500 billion. Maybe they do take some off the table. But OpenAI are coming in at that valuation, which is very high, which could be a mistake. And I don't know why they're doing this too. SoftBank are also buying 2% of Intel. Intel is a company that has suffered for the last 25 years, quarter of a century. If you divide the market cap or the stock price of Intel by M2 growth, you've lost a ton of money. And they are no NVIDIA, they're no AMD, they're way behind. But people believe, maybe SoftBank believes, they can invest $2 billion and grow it, fix it. I don't know what, not with a 2% share. Either way, crazy stuff happens all over the world. And finally, let's all pray for peace. Let's hope peace is coming, because at the end of the day, it's all related to money. Everything is related to money. And this is a very beautiful quote from Alyosha. Most wars are not won or lost. They run out of money, and peace returns capital to trade. The reason I share this is if we do get a peace deal and the war is over, there'll be more trade, which will be the more growth, more GDP growth, more success, more profits, and the markets will go up. Pray for peace. Good for everybody. And the meme du jour, which is quite appropriate today, because this is one of the days where the bears rejoice. They get so excited. It's like, yeah, I told you so. We're going down. We're going to zero. As Elon said, it's always better to be an optimist and wrong than a pessimist and right. But this is the meme going out now today from Naive. Welcome back, Diamond Hands. How is the moon? And the core message of this is holding can be dangerous. Profit taking, rotating can be very lucrative. And you feel like a hero if you've done some of that as well at times like this. But also when you zoom out and get the big picture, you know, the answer is somewhere in between. Not necessarily diamond handing. You diamond hand true long-term winning assets. So if you had bought something like Home Depot, I mentioned earlier, 40 years ago, you're a millionaire. That's it. You're done. Certain things you hold on to that just go up over time. Even though they may have a bad quarter, they go up over time. You diamond hand that stuff. But if you diamond hand things that go all the way to the moon and then come all the way back, you end up back at McDonald's. That's the joke here. Anyway, thought it was kind of funny and appropriate. All my videos are turned into podcasts and emails and Substacks. You get all the slideware and everything else. And I hope you all learned something. I want to thank everybody for coming. I hope I didn't miss anybody. The mods in the chat, Sean D, Teen Details like K8 and everybody else, Mr. Keyframes. And for some reason, I should be able to show comments on stage. I don't even know how to do that. Anyway, sorry if I'm a bit distracted today. It was a weak day in the markets, but Bitcoin is recovering again. little shiny little glimmer of hope. We fell to 112K. Now it's 113.5. So things are creeping back up. We'll see. And we always get the midweek slump. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the worst days. Then things normally pick up on Friday. But it was unusual to see the big sell-off on Sunday. That was unusual. Sunday is normally a pump day. Anyway, thanks all for coming. Stay safe. See you later. Bye.